All right, I pressed the right button.
All right.
I have pressed the wrong button a few times in my past.
That happens. I've done that before too. And then I'm like, oops, where'd everybody go? Um, Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hello, everyone that is able to view with us tonight. We have our guest tonight is Nick Riell, and Nick owns, you founded, is it called Sleep Secrets?
It's technically, it's called, my business is called the Riell Company, but we'll call it Sleep Secrets for now.
Okay, awesome.
It works.
It works. It does. It's super catchy name. So Nick is coming in tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about sleep, some different sleep scenarios. If you're joining us on Facebook, please go ahead and drop your questions into the chat. I am monitoring that. I am hoping that it works this time. Last time it didn't. And then I got off and there was like a whole bunch of questions and I felt bad. But but I will be checking the chat. So if you have questions, please drop them in there and we'll get to them as best as we can. But otherwise, Nick, if you would want to share a little bit about where you're from, how did you get into the world of sleeping, and what that looks like right now for you?
Yeah, sure. First and foremost, guys, thank you for tuning in and watching me ramble about sleep. You're going to get an absolute ton of value out of this. Whenever I come into another coaches group, my end goal and my transparent intention is to give you as much take home and tangible value that you can begin applying literally tonight. That is my end goal. So like Clarissa said, my name is Nick Riell. I have been a fitness and nutrition coach for the past 16 years. I did get started off at a very, very young age, coaching my football team in the weight room. So that's really where my passion for fitness and nutrition started. It did so much for me back then, because when I played football, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with how large football players are. I was maybe 4'9" and 110 pounds. So needless to say, when my coach led me into that weight room and I started like putting on size, the confidence that it gave me was insane. And it became like a pseudo addiction. I loved it so much and I fell in love with it. And soon enough, I just began coaching other team members on how to do these lifts, how to set up an exercise routine. And that was my de facto job. I just loved helping people like figure this stuff out, because it made such a difference, not only on the field of football and with the sport that we're playing, but in all aspects of their life. So naturally, I pursued a career in that. I got a degree in biomechanics and kinesiology from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, to solidify that with a minor in nutrition. And the journey after that is really where it gets interesting for me. And this is where the sleep really comes into play. My old boss at UNLV, because I worked at their gym naturally during my tenure there, she dialed me up, I think a day or two after I had graduated in 2014. And she said, "Hey, I have this super cool like project that I'm running and I need a coach. Do you want to come in and do one-on-one in-person coaching?" I said, "Yeah, of course." What college kid who fresh out of a job is going to say no to doing something that I like doing? Absolutely nobody, right? So I asked her what the gig is, and she says, "Well, I'm running a corporate health and wellness center, a gym, basically inside of an international airport. There is no comp like that." And me being 22 years old was like, "Cool, let's go." And it's I get in there and I start talking with the community there. I cannot say this another way. It was a bitch slap of reality, because up until that point, I've been working with athletes, cocktail waitresses, bartenders, people who like to get jacked and get shredded, big old bodybuilding stuff and athletic stuff. Well, this community didn't give a shit about any of that. And most of them, can't say all, but most of them were in their 40s, 50s. They were working in jobs that they hate. Their stress levels are insanely high. They were underpaid. And they were just all in general, they're just not in a good spot. So I had to figure out really quick, like, okay, how do I help these people? Because I know what I do works, but clearly these people aren't getting anywhere. So with working with a lot of in-flight clients, those are the clients that naturally were drawn to me. A big problem that they all had, and pretty much every client I had there, they all had sleep issues. in my understanding with sleep at that particular point in time, it wasn't as in-depth as what you're about to get, but I knew that if their sleep quality was low, their chances of losing weight were marginal at best. And full reality, with everything that they were dealing with, it was slim to none. They were not going to make progress unless that particular problem was solved. So I started placing a lot of efforts with solving that particular problem. And by golly, before you know it, sleep quality improved, their overall health improved, their energy levels improved, and all that translated to them losing weight and keeping it off. So clearly I had figured out something that works. So that's part one of the sleep story. Where it really got solidified was my own battle with sleepless nights. During that time period, I worked at that particular facility for 8 years. So I think about a year or two in, I started developing insomnia, stress-induced insomnia. I'll be the first person to raise my hand that this insomnia was completely my fault. I did it to myself, and I tolerated that particular issue for 3 years. Yes, I was still teaching people how to move past these things, but I was not even taking my own advice at that particular point. I'm just raise my hand. I was being a hypocrite. Okay.
It happens.
Nobody's perfect, right? And I remember the one night where I was like, you know what? I've had enough. I know what I need to be doing, but clearly I'm not doing it. So let's start off small. And my guilty pleasure of choice, because I made no time for myself at all. I would literally work 16, 18-hour days, 5 to 6 days a week. The only time I had to myself was maybe Sunday. So what I would do to get my R&R is I would stay up way past my bedtime and watch TV and fall asleep with the TV on and jack myself up on caffeine. I said, okay, just for tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to go to bed on time. I'm not going to turn TV on, and I'm not going to have more than 1 cup of coffee in the morning, as opposed to like 6. And when I woke up that morning, I was absolutely astounded with how different I felt. And that's really where all this clicked. All the stuff I've been teaching my clients up to that point, I now got to experience. And it was life-changing for me. And I knew from that particular point forward that sleep was an absolute game changer for me. And everybody that I work with, everybody I'd come to contact with who's struggling with their sleep, I figured out how to get past my sleepless nights. I've helped many people get past theirs. Nobody should struggle with sleepless nights because it was one of the simplest things I've ever done for myself. So that's what I'm going to give to you guys today. And that is my very elongated backstory with my particular niche. And it is an odd one at that. So thank you for going with me all the way through that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think it's always really awesome to see why people are in the fields, in the areas that they're in, because there's always a why, and it's generally very, very connected to a personal story.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure. So thank you for sharing that with us. We've got people on Facebook. So if you've joined us on Facebook and you have questions, please drop them in the chat. I can see you're there, so I'll be able to see your questions. And then we'll get those right. And then we'll get those answered for you tonight. So thanks for sharing your story with us, Nick. So now you've essentially mastered what needs to be done in order to improve sleep. How does that generally work for someone that is in those higher stress fields that's been battling with sleep for a long time?
So the origins of most modern sleepless nights, I cannot say all, because there's always going to be that one enigma for some odd reason that this doesn't necessarily apply to. But for most people, so 99.999% of you guys who are listening, the roots of your sleepless night can be found in 2 areas. Too much stress, not enough recovery. That's it. The end. So when we're talking about high stress, you need to be able to give your body the means to handle that stress. And I'll tell you from personal experience that when you're in those high stress fields and your days are just go, high stress, you don't have a lot of time for yourself. At first, it's very challenging to see, well, how can I lower my stress levels? Well, you don't necessarily need to go directly at the stress level itself. Instead, okay, there's so many things you can do with recovery, whether it's giving yourself proper amount of time to recover, creating the proper space to recover, or giving your body more means or food to recover. Because you can always increase recovery to offset stress if you cannot completely lower your stress levels, because there are some people right now who, with where they're at in life, their stress levels are here and the recovery is right there. Well, if they can't budge this, you can budge this factor. Ideally, you should be able to budge both of them. And when you get those two in balance, your sleep quality is going to go through the roof as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. So that's super. I've never thought about breaking it, because that's ridiculously simple to break it down into just those two problems. But that's so right. Yeah, so one of the things we do with our clients is we're always focusing on quality of sleep, and we always want to know, what is the stress level? I mean, recovery is one of our questions too, and we can better monitor that when we're coaching someone. But I know we have a lot of people in the group that we're not coaching. And we do preach about, well, I feel like it's preaching about recovery all the time, because it's not, the stress isn't just from the workouts. You're also, it's stress from your day-to-day life. It's stress from the environment. It's stress from politics. There's a lot of stress out there. So, how much are you willing to take on? And there's a lot that we don't actually have to take on.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the reasons why people will get into stressful situations and tolerate them is when you're in a stressful like job for like, I'm just going to throw something out there, longer than a year, you're going to get used to that stressful situation. Like, I'm thinking of my significant other right now. Her name's Erica, and she also works at the airport, and she runs a lot of the business contracts with the airline. So needless to say, it's extremely stressful. And she's adapted to that. That stress level is normal for her. But when she first got into that job, it's like, whoa, this is a lot. And she was being crushed. So people, provided that they stick with it long enough, yeah, okay, you'll adapt to it. But there's only so much your body's going to be able to adapt before it starts breaking down. And the key with that one is recovery. When your recovery is too low for an extended period of time, guess what? All of your bodily functions are going to go down to the level that they can recover. It's literally the same thing as slowing down your metabolism. If you are not as active and you're not eating enough food, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, and your overall metabolic rate is going to go down to the level that you're at. Recovery operates the same thing. So if you want to boost up recovery, put more effort and emphasis and means to recovering. That's it.
Right. What are your favorite tools for recovery?
My favorite tool by far is ensuring that you're getting enough food, and quality food at that. Why food? Why not literally anything else? Because when we're talking about sleep specifically, say that 3 times fast, there's a lot of information out there on, creating time to recover and creating space to recover, and all that's relevant and all that's necessary. But if your body doesn't actually have the energy to recover, you can create the time and the appropriate space and do all the right things. Your sleep quality is still going to be shit. How do I know this? I've done it.
True.
Been there. And food is not talked about often when it comes to sleep. If you go Google like how to solve sleepless nights or how to reverse poor sleep, how to reverse insomnia, you're going to find, take this supplement, take this pill, use this gadget, use this app, meditate, journal, blah, 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 blah. It neglects food. And the reason why this is a massive problem lies in how your body responds to food, and specifically how it works with sleep. So most of us know, or if you don't, you're about to get educated, that your body uses light and darkness to primarily time sleep and wake. Most humans operate on a solar cycle. Most of them do. There are some, I won't go into this, that do not operate on that solar cycle. There are some. Well, in the absence of light, your known timing of food is what controls your sleep-wake cycle. There's a second most powerful sleep quality synchronizer that your body uses. It controls your body's internal clock system. And yes, we all have one. And there's a reason why we have one. And when you're eating food and your known timing patterns of food, you're generally when you're eating breakfast, generally when you're eating lunch, generally when you're eating dinner, in the absence of light, your body uses that to gauge, when am I supposed to be asleep? When am I supposed to be awake? And all the different processes that occur when you're asleep and when you're awake. So why this is not talked about, I have my thoughts on that. I'll go ahead and move past that for now. But that's why I strongly believe and logically think that the best thing you could do for recovery is make sure you're eating enough food, especially in a weight loss situation. If you're not eating enough, good luck losing weight. It ain't going to happen.
Right. No, I know. And I think that's super important to talk about too, because there are so many, I mean, our group is primarily filled with women who are always in a dieting phase. And so of course that's going to impact sleep because well, you're in a diet. So I know I've gone through diet. Everybody in here knows that I compete. My sleep sucks. Like I have to take so many supplements so that I can go to sleep, but I know I need it like desperately, but I have to finish this thing that I'm doing, before I can get back and get my sleep level. So yes, if you're not getting enough food, it would make complete sense why your sleep would not be good quality sleep.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And going off the diet, because a lot of the clients that I work with are chronic dieters and they're recovering from diets. When you diet down low enough in calories, and my general baseline, and for the record, it's going to vary individual to individual, a baseline, when you're dipping below that 1200 calorie mark for an extended period of time, your body is going to enter what is called starvation mode. And that is a stress. A lack of food is a stress. And food is one of your basic physiological needs, the same as sleep. And I would argue that in the absence of food, because there's a lot of data that will suggest this and corroborate what I'm going to say, that your body will cut your sleep short. It will sabotage your sleep to go find food because you need food for survival. Well, you also need sleep. Well, guess what? If you don't have food, it doesn't matter if you're not getting sleep because you're not going to be alive. That's what your body thinks about. That's all it cares about. So when we're talking about chronic dieting, that's one of the big dangers with chronic dieting is you diet down too long for too low, and now your sleep is fucked. And by the way, guys, your sleep-wake cycle controls all the mechanisms and processes that are responsible for weight management. And if that is not working well, that is why it is damn near impossible to lose weight or keep it off.
Right. No, that's a super good point. You said something about, the body waking you up so that you can go find food. I think that happens a lot, especially to people that have this hard, I must stop eating at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And then they wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and they're like, I can't go back to sleep. So if they're clients, what we generally do is we're like, have a snack before you go to bed. And lo and behold, that fixes the problem.
Yep. And ultimately, yeah, having snacks within that like 1 hour bedtime mark, if you are somebody who is not getting enough calories in a day, is going to help balance out your blood sugar levels. Because that is one of the primary reasons why people experience night wakings is blood sugar imbalances. Normally, with what I experience is people who are eating way late at night and the blood sugar levels are too high. They have to wake up, go to the bathroom, because that's primarily how your body balances out blood sugar levels when you are inactive. But there is that other side that you talked about, low blood sugar. Your body will wake you, like Clarissa said, to go find food. And that is a sign you are not eating enough daily. And ultimately, if you want to solve that problem, which you do want to solve that problem because your success with weight loss hinges on you doing this, you'll want to start slowly eating more. And I know Clarissa teaches you guys this. And if you don't know how to do it, you should definitely reach out to her, because when you're giving your body enough food, it changes your life. It absolutely changes your life and your sleep on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And we have so many stories where people could testify that just how much things changed once they started eating. I always say, give your body what it needs, and it's amazing what it can accomplish. I think that's one of my favorite things that I say. You said something a little bit ago, though, that I wanted to kind of touch back on. So people that are in those higher stress jobs that are accustomed to the stress, but their sleep is crap, so they're accustomed to that too. What would be the good thing for them to do, like as a first step? Like how could they get out of that hole?
First step. So let's assume that I'm working with a client. So all of you guys who are watching, I'm going to literally give you the exact information that I would give a paid client. So the first thing that I would have you do is create what is called a pro sleep night routine. The reason why we're starting with a night routine, why we're not starting with a morning routine or anything else, or just go to bed on time or anything like that, is because most people who have high stress jobs, live high stress lifestyles, as soon as they get off work, well, you still have a whole bunch of things to do. And you and your body is going to try to fit R&R time during that time. So you might as well create time and space for that to happen. If you're not creating time and space for that to happen, your body's going to figure out how to do that. And this is going to be such as staying up late, scrolling on TikTok, falling asleep with the TV on, anything like that. So just give yourself the time and space to actually chill. I'm going to teach you how to set this up. It's really easy. It's only 3 steps. First step is create a time to start that routine. I call this a hard cutoff time. The reason why I call it a hard cutoff time is because that signifies the time where you giving away your energy ends. And it signifies the time where you start reinvesting that time and energy back into yourself and recovery. That's when that starts. When should you put this at? My recommendation is generally 2 hours before bed. And the reason why is 2 hours before you actually get groggy enough to fall asleep, your body does physiologically begin to transfer all of its processes from being awake to going to sleep. You want to make sure you nail that 2 hour mark. If all you can commit to is an hour, stick with what you can commit to. If you want to have it 3 hours, sky's the limit. Have fucking fun with it. So set that hard cutoff time and be consistent with it. Then the second step, which is the most fun part, is you get to do what I call a destimulating activity. Destimulating means it does not stimulate you. It relaxes you, and literally anything goes. You can read, you can go on a walk and play with the kids. You can watch your favorite Netflix show. Yes, most of my clients like to watch TV at night, and they all have amazing sleep.
Wow.
Whatever goes, goes. Because when you're thinking about it from a 30,000 foot view, and specifically with TV, because that is a very controversial statement. Because when I say that online, I get backlash on this one.
Sure.
Unless your problems with sleep are due to literally your eyes being super sensitive to light, it's the only way a screen is really going to screw you up. And this is a little bit different than taking your phone to bed and holding it in front of your face. You're going to get a lot more bright light that'll mess up your sleep with a phone that's in front of your face rather than the TV. Let's say it's mounted on the wall and you're sitting 4 yards away. So again, point in case, if it relaxes you, just do it. It's going to help immensely. And then the last part is set a consistent bedtime. Your body, again, it loves routines. It loves consistency, especially when it comes to that sleep-wake cycle. It will thank you for going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time, not 5 days a week, not 6 days a week, but 7 days a week. Your body doesn't give a fuck whether it's Monday or Saturday. It really does not care. It's another day. And when you listen to your body and you follow what it's telling you to do, it's not only going to reward you with higher quality sleep, but your energy levels are going to be higher. Your stress is going to be lower. And then all the other things that you want and need to do are going to be so much simpler for you to accomplish. That's how you assemble a pro sleep night routine, and it works wonders.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have a client, I will tag her in the video later, that, I mean, she's been with me for a long time, but she still really struggles with sleep, and she just has a super high job.
I mean, anybody who has a stressful day needs to be doing this at some level. When you get your reps in, let's say your sleep quality is improved. Instead of you having 5 hours of shitty sleep, now you have like 8 hours of quality sleep. Can you mess around with it a little bit? Yes. Just like, hey, when you reach your weight loss goal and you're maintaining it, yeah, you can play with your caloric intake, but you still have to be responsible with it. Same thing here. You can play around with that night routine. You can shorten it. You can elongate. You can change out what's going on, because you're going to be a lot more self-aware, but you still have to practice the basics. Nobody gets out of here when we're looking at a high level like client, whether it's weight loss, whether it's sleep, performance, without practicing the basics. That's it.
Absolutely. Sorry, my front door is open. Can you guys hear that? No?
I heard it open.
Good. Okay. Anyhow, we had a question inside of the Facebook group. Perimenopausal sleep issues. They suck.
So I've been told.
Yeah. Is there anything like we already currently work on making sure we're eating enough, making sure food is timed properly, but just because there's that drop in progesterone and it is directly related to sleep, what would you think would be something that they could implement beyond the bedtime routines?
What I do for my menopausal clients, whether they're about to go into menopause, they're in menopause, or they're just getting done with it, I treat them the same across the board for this realm of sleep. In conjunction to literally everything that you just said, because all that plays a part. What I do a little bit extra that is a little bit different probably to your group is I make sure with my group, since I don't work with vegans as much, that inflammatory foods are reduced to a bare minimum. Because when you're eating inflammatory foods and you're already in that inflamed state, it's just going to make the hot flash that's more than likely waking you up. One, more common, number two, more severe, thus more annoying to deal with. So you want to make sure that you're reducing inflammation as much as you possibly can. And then the actual tactical sleep thing that I have them do is take a cool or cold shower right before they go to bed. And here's the logic behind this one that actually does work. You cannot control those fluctuations between progesterone and estrogen as much as you want to. They're on their own timetable. It's going to do what it's wanting to do. So at this particular point, you're looking to, like Clarissa said, control as much of the variables that affect it as you possibly can. You're doing everything with your diet. You're doing everything with your lifestyle. You're doing everything with your stress. Here's how you can manipulate your environment to cool you off. When you take a cold shower, your body tends to get cold after you stand there for a certain amount of time, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever your tolerance level is. When your body is able to cool down, number one, you're not going to feel the hot flashes as much. And number two, and most importantly, your body likes a cool environment, both externally and internally, to get high quality sleep. So if you are using your external environment to cool down your internal environment, number one, it's going to make your sleep onset, which is falling asleep, much more efficient, which is going to help all the rest of your in-sleep cycles operate efficiently. And then when they are disrupted, because it's going to happen no matter what, the severity of the disruption is going to greatly lessen, as is the frequency. I have ran this with 4 of my menopausal clients, and they were ranging wake ups for like 4 to 6 times a night. And in a week, it went down to 1 to 2 with using this one step.
That makes a ton of sense though, because we can't control how hot we are internally right now.
No.
So the cold shower makes a ton of sense.
No, and adding on that when you're having those massive fluctuations between progesterone and estrogen, that's going to put your body in an inflamed state.
Right.
And this is where, if you guys are very familiar with ice baths in athletics, the reason why they have athletes do that is to control and lessen inflammation. That's where the logic of this works. And so instead of you having to sit in a tub full of ice water, which, you know, if that's your cup of tea, by all means do it. I've had to do it many times myself. Do that cold shower within about 10 minutes before you go to bed. Your sleep quality is going to improve. Is it going to completely eradicate that hot flash? No. Is it going to help your sleep quality remain as high as possible? Yes. And that alone is going to help your body deal with the stress of that.
Right. No, I do agree. It makes a ton of sense. We have someone here though that says, well, there's a thank you for your time and information. And then someone says, I can't sleep when I'm cold. Is there a way around this?
So can't sleep when you're cold. This is where, does this particular person have a significant other?
I don't know. She's not a client.
Okay. So let's just assume that she's single. So I'm going to talk about this from like, you have complete control of the thermostat. Just raise your thermostat up at night in increments of 1 to 2 degrees. I don't like pushing it more than that, because when your body is in sleep mode, literally a change in like 1 degree can either make your sleep or break your sleep. So just make sure it's in small increments. If you don't want to play with this thermostat, you can turn your fan on counterclockwise and it'll push hot air down and take cold air up. Wear something heavier to go to bed, grab another blanket, whatever it is to protect and conserve heat, that's really going to work.
Right. That makes sense too. And then I think, implementing the things that you talked about and the things that we always focus on, those should be some really good tools. We've got a bit here and it's coming up on my phone, but not on the thing like it's supposed to. Nessa says, I definitely find routines help so much. In this regard, there are so many factors that play into this, and I love how you approach from all the angles. Cooling my room at night has definitely helped as well. Yeah, me too lately. Like I used to be that way where if I was cold, I couldn't sleep. And now like in the winter, we have one blanket because I can't, if I'm hot, then I'm absolutely miserable.
Yeah, and to touch on like the transitional seasons of the year where like at least I think this is a lot of the country, but I'll use Vegas as an example. We're going into our fall, and our fall is literally like 1 month. And it'll be 95 in the day and 40 at night.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So it's really yin yang. So when you're dealing with those yin yang transitional season temperatures, like going from summer to fall or fall to winter, you're gonna have to get very creative with your bedding and the clothes that you're wearing. My general advice is start with clothes first before bedding, because this stuff is going to have direct contact with your body. So if you can manipulate your clothing to find that happy medium between being cool enough to get high quality sleep and warm enough to where you're not waking up freezing your balls off, that is ideal. If you are somebody like my girlfriend who literally needs the house at 85 to feel happy, and I need it 32 below zero, this is when you start throwing those blankets up, like Clarissa said, goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Somebody asked, is there a temperature range that is best suited for sleep?
So the statistical temperature range, which is large, by the way, is 60 degrees to 75 degrees. Now, that said, most people, from what the science says, like 62 to 68. That is what data suggests. And I'm going to give you an example of where this ends, really. My house is set at 74 degrees. So technically it's in that optimal range for sleep, but it's not within that quote perfect golden zone that the experts out there say you need to have your thermostat on. Number one, the reason why we don't have that is because it's 100, usually in the summer, it's 110, 120 degrees outside. So going from 110 to 75 is very nice. My body likes that. Everybody's body likes that. Also, and we're going to keep it real here, jacking down your AC to 62 degrees when it's very warm out.
Oh yeah,
$100 power bill is very common for that. And not everybody is going to be willing to shell out or able to shell out that much. So when you're dealing with that type of a situation, use other factors, use clothing, use bedding, use fans. Buy cool or heat specific sleep products. There are heating pads, there are cooling pads, heated pillows, cooling pillows. There's so much out there that you can do to manipulate the temperature that can go a long way without having to play so much with that thermostat.
Yeah. No, that's super sound advice. Yeah, because I can't even imagine what your bill would be like if you guys were at 60 degrees. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is crazy. All right. I'm not seeing any more questions. We have a couple more thank yous. All right, wonderful. Well, I've taken up way more than half an hour of your time.
That's fine.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Nick. I thought it was super valuable. The thank yous in the group are also in conclusion with that. So
Pleasure's all mine.
Very much appreciated. Awesome. So we can go ahead and wrap things up. If anybody else has further questions, I'll be sure and get you tagged in that so you can answer any additional questions. But thank you for your time tonight. Thanks for joining us. I really enjoyed it.
Good. Pleasure is all mine. Take the stuff, apply it. If something didn't apply to you, just throw it away. Take what applied to you and run with it. When you take action, the faster you're going to get the results that you want, whether it's your sleep or with your weight or your health in general. The more you take action, you're going to narrow down that time it takes for you to get the results that you want. And I don't know about you, but if you can narrow that time as much as you can, so you can live life outside of your diet, outside of your sleepless nights, that needs to happen because there's so much to live for.
Absolutely. 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Pleasure's all mine.
All right. Well, we will definitely have you back in, at a later date and give everyone a refresher.
Perfect.
Okay,
Sounds
right.
like a plan.
All right. Have a great rest of your night. Everyone that joined us on Facebook, have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and drop them on the video and we'll get back to you.
All right. Take care,
Bye.
guys.